One Piece chapter 1012 definitely rejuvenates your love for One Piece if you've been falling off, at least. Because I've been hearing more people say that this chapter felt a lot like old One Piece chapters or older pre-time skip chapters where the comedy was great, the action was great. It wasn't too much about any agendas or power scaling. It was just good old fun and seeing the Straw Hats shine and Oda showing just how creative he can be as a writer. But even in the midst of all this, as impressive as Zoro was, as impressive as Luffy was and is, people are still expecting more from Sanji. But even based off of what he did this chapter, people are still calling for more. So people are literally saying, Oda, Sanji needs more feats. And now I'm saying, viewer, please subscribe to this channel and like the video as well. And definitely drop a comment for the algorithm. But we gotta talk about this, man, because Sanji, I'm not sure if he's catching strays, but the expectations of him are still pretty high. I guess for some people they're pretty low because based off of how things have transpired for him in Wano, people are saying, well, I don't expect that much from Sanji anymore. But I think that is the loud minority. Overall, I think a lot of people expect Sanji to show out and do his thing because Luffy and Zoro, they've done their thing. And Luffy for sure isn't done, and Zoro might not necessarily be done. So for Sanji, what is needed? For the feats that the people want, what can Sanji do? So I think Sanji's tenure in Wano is very well documented. Coming into it, leaving Whole Cake Island, the belief was that Sanji would use the raid suit at some point, but sparingly, but never make it the main part of his fighting style, his fighting prowess. But the question was always going to be, well, how does he get stronger? He didn't necessarily do any training in Whole Cake Island. The only power-up you could foresee was the raid suit, but that went against everything Sanji stood for. It still does, but he's found a way to cope, in which he's putting his friends first and caring for them beyond how he personally feels about his family and the tech that they created. So now Sanji's comfortable using the raid suit. For some people that don't remember, that was a huge issue where people felt like, oh, Sanji said he would never use it and now he is. That's pretty terrible. Which I'm like, did you ignore Whole Cake Island? Did you just skip Whole Cake Island? Did you go from Zou to Wano? Because that's the only reason why you'd feel that way. But I digress. Sanji's now using the raid suit, and let's leave out the perverted things that happened at the bathhouse. He's fighting Page 1. And for the most part, Sanji was dominating that matchup. He just could knock him out. And for the ancient Zoans, we understand, well, Zoans overall, they have another level of resilience that no matter how much damage they take, they always seem to come back. Look at Jack. Shoot, look at Kaido. He's taken so much and it seems like he's just still getting started. This may be a hot take, but I still think Page 1 is going to get up from Big Mom's attack. Yes, this recent chapter he did not, but I still think Page 1 is going to get up and do things in this arc because that's just how resilient they are. And if we look at how things have been playing out, Nami will fight Ulti through the aid of Zeus, and for Usopp, I think he may defeat Page 1, and of course this is Page 1 after being hit by Big Mom, so that's how you kind of scale it down, especially with Oda coming out recently and saying Usopp will always be the weakest on the crew and the more relatable one. And again, we're deviating, but I just wanted to get that out there, right? But back to Sanji. He was sparring with Page 1, that's what it seemed like, but he could not defeat him. In the manga, it seemed like Sanji defeated Page 1. In the anime, it made it clear that Page 1 was not knocked out. Page 1 showed back up again at the Tobiropa reveal. It was like, okay, what did Sanji actually accomplish at that juncture? Remember, Sanji said, the point is to whittle down their forces and to take out Page 1. Sanji essentially didn't take out Page 1 and just ran away. So that entire sequence felt a bit useless, to be honest, and more of a showcase of Sanji using the raid suit. Even in that moment though, Sanji did not use the raid suit in conjunction with his own abilities. It was just flexing with the raid suit, no Diablo Jambe, nothing Sanji's ever used before, no real true fighting style. It was just a feeling out process. That's why I feel, just like Luffy versus Kaido the first time they fought, that was not an accurate assessment of how strong Sanji is and will be going forward in the arc. We move forward, and the next significant matchup Sanji had was versus King. Sanji was able to free Momonosuke, and then he got attacked by King, and based on a sequence of events, even though his raid suit protected him, and Sanji even questioned why he was still alive, it seemed like he was maybe knocked out for a slight period of time. So again, when you look at these things happening back to back to back, people are saying, okay, wait, what is the goal or the purpose for Sanji in this arc? We know what we want. We want Mr. Prince. We want the hunter back. And I think him saving Momonosuke is an inclination of that. And I think Sanji has been fine this arc. He just hasn't been spectacular, and I think he's been overshadowed by Zoro and Luffy. For the people that are saying that Sanji is no longer in the monster trio, shut up. Be quiet. You're just trying to antagonize Sanji fans. Sanji is firmly supplanted as part of the monster trio. If the matchups were not not telling enough. Jinbei is fighting who's a member of the Tobiropo. Personally, I think Sanji will fight a commander. I think that's set in stone based on who's left and based on where he's headed. Leaving out the fact that he saved Zoro and Law in the moments with Black Maria, because you could argue that was really underwhelming. What happens going forward? How can Sanji make up for what's happened in the arc? And again, I don't think he's been bad. I just think there are steps he has to get to compare, or for it to be reasonable based on what Zoro and Luffy has done. So Zoro is telling Sanji to go to the live floor. Go to where Chopper is, Marco, King, and Queen. So more than likely what's gonna happen, Sanji's gonna go and he's going to see Marco fighting King and Queen by himself. And I think at this point, Marco should be even more beat up than he was last time. But the question is, does Sanji fight King or Queen? The good thing about this with Marco and Sanji, and I think it's hilarious, right? Because back then for Marco, for people that didn't know or don't know, after Marineford, the consensus on Marco was that he was underwhelming, that Vista was more impressive, that Jozu was more impressive because they actually had fights. And for Vista, he stood against Mihawk. For Jozu, he made Aokiji bleed. Jozu also blocked Mihawk's attack. For Marco, people can point to a significant feat in their opinion to say, oh, that's deserving of the right-hand man of Whitebeard. For me, I vehemently disagreed because Marco was moving all about the battlefield, had a tussle with Kizaru, and again, he was up against admirals. And the insult back then was that Marco was literally Sanji with wings. So now Sanji tag teaming with Marco to fight King and Queen. It's almost mind-blowing because they've been compared long before this moment was even thought about. I mean, I think at least. But the perfect thing here is that Marco and Sanji, they have a similar fighting style. Marco, for the most part, just uses his legs. He can fly, he's quick. It's all about agility and concise techniques. Of course, he has his new attacks that he used so far that have been pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. But I think what could happen here is that Marco and Sanji, they're gonna be fighting both, but it's gonna be interchangeable. So Sanji isn't necessarily fighting King or fighting Queen, they're just supporting each other while fighting both. I think Marco eventually gets the final blow on King though, and Sanji gets the final blow on Queen, but all in all is gonna say Sanji aided in taking out both King and Queen. So it's not like Sanji took them out on his own, but revisionist history is going to say Sanji basically took out two commanders. And just like the propaganda from Whole Cake Island with Big News and Luffy, I think if that happens, right, where Sanji fights King for a while, then fights Queen for a while, where they're interchanging, protecting each other, watching each other's backs, I think that's enough to live up to what people should expect from Sanji. Saving Zoro, saving Law, going and fighting against a right-hand commander and a second commander. Those are unofficial, don't go crazy power scaling haters. But I think if Sanji's able to accomplish that, that's more than enough. Taking out two commanders, fighting alongside the right hand of Whitebeard, that would be wildly impressive. And for the feats that people would want, Sanji would have contributed to taking out two commanders. While before there's the strongest person he fought, maybe Doflamingo, and now with the raid suit, again, incorporating his abilities, I think the Sanji that we're going to see is going to be scary. Because at this point, I think the Zoro-Sanji comparisons are dead in the water, where most people say, okay, like, you can't even compare Sanji to Zoro. Zoro is blocking Yonko, making Yonko dodge. Comparing them just doesn't seem right at this point, but I think they're always going to be comparable. And Sanji's going to do something in this arc, and personally I think versus King and Queen, for us to say, hold on, did we jump the gun? Which we usually do, myself included. We all do. We all live in a moment sometimes with One Piece because of how excited we are and how amazing the chapters are, but then we settle down and we're like, you know what, maybe we overreacted. I don't think right now you can even make that conversation Sanji stronger than Zoro, but I don't think that's ever been the conversation. I mentioned this before, that the conversation was always around, is Sanji as strong as Zoro? But then it gets disrespectful when people say Zoro's way stronger than Sanji on another level. They are never comparable, which I think is just factually incorrect. They were always on a similar level, and that's been portrayed in the story. Recently, hey man, I got nothing. So we got to see what Sanji does. Like I said, I feel like he fights two commanders, contributes to taking them both out. Revisionist history, he gets credit for both of them, or for the most part, aiding in them getting taken out. And so his bounty jumps to 800, whatever. I don't think he quite gets to a bill, while Zoro definitely gets to a bill because Zoro would have aided in two Yonko falling, right? Not the same way. And we can't rule out, I think it's unlikely, but we can't rule out Zoro aiding in cutting down Kaido. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about Sanji? What feats do you need to see from Sanji to say, okay, Sanji is back in the trio? Personally, I don't think he's ever been out, but a lot of people have been saying it. And so I'm sure a lot of people are gonna say, well, I don't think he's a part of it. I don't know what he has to do, but what do you think he has to do? What feats does Sanji need for you to be confident in our beloved cook, again. But guys, give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thanks to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Guys, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.